Hello and welcome to our first 5 for 5 virtual network meeting. My name is Maurice Dixon and I'm co-leader alongside Claire May. And the start of our virtual meeting tonight had a few technical issues, so you're going to pick up partway through. And we just wanted to introduce ourselves at the start and tell you that we're looking forward very much to working with you. We see this as a network where you're going to get involved and send us lots of information which we're going to distribute through websites and through emails and so on. So welcome and thank you for coming.
Hello, my name is Claire May and I am one of the Mental Health and Wellbeing Network co-leaders with Mr. Maurice Dixon. I look forward to working with you and collaborating over the coming years and producing a set of really useful practical strategies to help our young people become resilient and well-rounded human beings. I hope you enjoy our session tonight. We really did.
So the idea is this: we want to make it easy for teachers to find stuff that they need. We saw there was a post on Facebook yesterday, the day before. Somebody wanted information on something and wanted some quick answers on the Facebook page. And it would be great to build up a resource online where people can just go and access things as they need it. The first stage is getting the stuff on there. And then the second stage is making people aware that it is there and growing that conversation online. So this is a very draft, putting some things together. I would love any suggestions through the survey of names. I was trying to think about what domain to purchase for the site. Do we want to have oxenmhwb.net, or is there another catchy phrase we can use that's going to make it easy for people to talk about where they'd been and what they'd heard, and to recommend to other people? So we'd appreciate some ideas on that. But a very simple structure of having information for teachers, parents, mental health professionals, and a research hub. So in time, building up teachers contributing ideas that other teachers can magpie. And I think it's important that we try and get some helpful information out for parents. That partnership that we've got is really important. And then a place for really meaty discussions with mental health professionals making their services available. People that would like to say, I'm here, available for schools or available for individuals, parents, so that we know who you are and where you are and how we can access you, whether that's paid services, charitable services, or however it works. And then a really rich research hub, papers that have been produced that we can just go and search and find things that are going to be helpful to us. So we'd like to build that kind of resource up over time. I'll come back to talk about events. That's just a link to our Google Calendar, which will grow, and you can subscribe to it on your device or just come here to have a look. And a kind of a news blog section where I've uploaded all of the previous newsletters, so you can go back and see all of those, and hopefully that will grow. So the next thing to go on there will be a video of that you're watching now, and articles that I would like the network to feel that they can contribute to, and email stuff in so we can start to get some really good practice up on there. And then finally, this forum. So it's an online forum. I know we've got Facebook. Not everybody's on there. We've got audience in Facebook. We've got audience in Twitter. We've got audience in LinkedIn. So this would be an opportunity for us to go and contribute here. I've started a first discussion, which is, instead of having you can't see it, you can create an account so you can get notifications and stuff, or not. And a little discussion item about today. What are your takeaways? What might you get out of this session and use afterwards? And we're proposing kind of 3 formats for these online sessions or live sessions once we get together. We're in the middle of the first one, 5 cubed, 5 teachers for 5 minutes about 5 ways to wellbeing. And I think the 5 ways to wellbeing is a very easy in for schools. There's some very practical tips and things to get on with to improve wellbeing and mental health in our schools. The second one, thinking about parents and that link that schools can be between parents and professionals. And so the idea here is to have an event where we get some parents or situations that parents are struggling with in bringing their children up to be well, and a panel of professionals who can help out with some of the tricky things that they're trying to deal with, so they get help and advice as well. We had a very wacky idea. I'm afraid you've got a real fantasy fiction fan here. Douglas Adams, 42. What's the question? Life, the universe, and everything. and that importance of research and the big questions and how do we know what we're trying to do in schools is going to be effective because it's rooted in research. So the idea there, the 42 comes, of course, from 2 times 3 times 7, which is 2 research professionals talking about 3 topics for 7 minutes each, which fills up an hour with some discussion time too. So that's the kind of starting point of where we think might be helpful for us to go to in terms of providing information, as well as the network meetings that we can have on here. Okay, so at any stage, afterwards in the survey, it would be great to have your contributions and ideas of that. Okay, so any questions? I've got a few hands raised. I don't know if that's questions or whether you've just left them up, but if you leave them up, I'll ask you if you want to make a comment just now. If I stop sharing. Okay, no questions. Lovely. Right, so I'm going to hand over to Claire next, so I'm going to just move out of the way and let her take over. And she's going to talk to you. Well, I'll let her introduce herself and tell you what she's going to talk about.
Thank you very much, Maurice. Oh, I can get in the driver's seat. Hello. Just to follow on from what Maurice was saying, when I was interrupted by my microphone not working, we really, really want contributions from you all. This is a collaborative network. This is not just me and Maurice putting everything together. We want articles of things that have worked. We want book reviews. We want suggestions, really great resources you found. Please, please, please do get in contact with us and share, because we are stronger together. And it's coming up for Mental Health Day, World Mental Health Day, 10th of October. The theme this year is mental health for all, and it has never, ever been more important. Mind have surveyed over 16,000 people, and they discovered that for adults over the last 6 months, 50% had seen an increase in their own mental health deterioration, whereas 75% of under 18s had experienced the same thing. So there is a growing need for mental health and wellbeing support. The waiting list for CAMHS, the waiting list for any of our hospital facilities is huge at the moment. It's underfunded, it's needed more than ever. So we need to be working together as professionals and with the other professionals to help our young people and ourselves be happy and healthy individuals. Stress and anxiety. It often comes when we lack the internal resources to deal with external stressors. Now, we are all living through a period of unexpected anxiety and chaos and uncertainty and change at the moment. Anxiety is a completely normal reaction. So at Spires, we have had a real drive on mental health and wellbeing for staff and students. Our motto, which our students wear on their badges every single day, says, "Be the best you can be." I always like to think of it as encouraging students to be their whole selves and creating these holistic, well-rounded individuals that can go out into the world with the skills to survive. And that includes the resources to be able to support their own mental health and wellbeing. So, to underpin our Be the Best Self, we use the 5 ways to wellbeing. The first one, connect. It's a basic human need. It's fundamental to our existence as human beings. It means us being close. It means us valuing each other and ourselves. It builds emotional intelligence. It builds resilience. It builds self-esteem. How do we do that here? Well, a number of ways. I once read Nigel Slater's book, The Cook, and he said you can never hate someone who makes you toast. So one of the first things I did was to create a breakfast club here, and it went across year groups, went across our kind of houses, and I ended up in the morning feeding about 50 students. And it didn't just end up being food, it was a family atmosphere. It set our students up and our staff, I have to say, because quite a few of them came in without breakfast, but they came in and they picked up a cup of tea, they picked up some toast, and they would have the conversations that built each other up. They sat around our, well, D5, and there were no phones. I didn't need to tell them to have no phones. They conversed, they supported each other. It was lovely to see year 11s, you know, teaching year 7s to butter toast. That's well-being, that is connection, that is humanity working together. We need more of that. It's how we thrive and survive. I then decided that actually we needed a little bit more of outside time, because nature has been shown, you know, if you've had a stressful day, what do they say? Spend 30 minutes outside. If you've had a really bad day, spend an hour. So I started taking small groups at lunchtime out into the garden. Well, it wasn't really a garden, it was a piece of unused space behind my classroom. And actually the conversations that you can have while students are digging or relocating kind of garden furniture and things are quite impactful. They will tell you all kinds of things that you wouldn't usually get in a normal everyday setting. I think it's that ability to do something with your hands at the same time as talking, and it's an unpressurized environment. So many things started to come through from that. So many mental health and well-being concerns were raised. Managed to find so many things from the Breakfast Club that were so important with getting our students the right kind of support. Living in Oxfordshire, where it's a bit of a catch-22. We've got lovely areas of affluence, but I think in general it hides quite a lot of deprivation. And for both of these projects, the Wellbeing Garden and the Breakfast Club, I deliberately didn't set parameters. I deliberately didn't focus on pupil premium students or one particular year group. If they were hungry, I'd feed them, and they came to the room. And that was how I found out about all kinds of things that were going on in people's lives that you wouldn't normally kind of necessarily dig deeper and find out about. So that connection, that ability to talk over a slice of toast or a spade, it's invaluable. Connection. Taking notice. Awareness. Our own ability to articulate our emotions. Our ability to be aware of them. We did at the beginning of today's session, if you were here, a small mindfulness grounding exercise. We are really lucky to actually have 2 mindfulness practitioners in our school, and they deliver through our Year 8 curriculum in PSHE mindfulness exercises. So all our students get to participate in those. We've also got 2 mental health champions who are trained through the Place to Be, 3 counsellors, again, all supporting our students' mental health and wellbeing, and our staffs. And we are really lucky to have taken place in the mental health and support team triage day. So a link with CAMS and the NHS, and they come in, and we've got students who now will self-refer or peer refer, as well as sometimes being referred by their head of house or their tutor, to receive triage. They may consider themselves to have something they need support with, and it's to scoop them up before they reach crisis point. If you haven't looked into the mental health and support team kind of pilot scheme, it's really, really well worth doing. Our students gained a lot from the day, and we were able to offer some parent sessions at the end. I think Cherwell may well have done something similar, so it'll be interesting to see if we can get someone in our network to talk about that and how it's gone at their school. We also have utilised some of the free government training at the moment. Learning Curve is a really good online resource where you can pick up a level 2 in adolescent mental health and wellbeing support, absolutely free, that the government is paying for. They realise that teachers need this training. So we've got all of our humanities teachers that have gained that level 2 qualification. It's really very useful as an insight into, again, scooping students up before they reach that crisis point. Learn, another one of the ways of well-being. It enhances self-esteem, it builds resilience. It's important for us all, not just the students, the staff as well. Through PSHE and Tutor Time, we offer metacognition sessions, basically. How should we learn? How can we learn? Learning guidance plays a key role. We also reward for best learner and best motivated learner. And then finally for me, give. Give is really important. One act of kindness once a week for 6 weeks will actually increase measurably well-being. So we've really had a push on give over the last few months. We've got our hashtag, which is OSA kindness. We've got assemblies and house points that reward acts of kindness, making that giving gesture explicit. We also try and encourage our staff. We've got over 40 of them at the moment participating in our staff angels, where each member of staff is buddied up with another member of staff, and they have to put into their pigeonholes when the other member of staff needs it. Just a little boost, small gifts, little notes. It's just something to make us smile. You know, this is a tough time to be in education, and to have an angel looking after you is rather lovely. Community participation is really, really important in wellbeing. So thank you for being part of our network and giving to each other and us your time and expertise. I'm going to hand over to Sean, who is going to talk about the 5th pillar, which is being active.
Thanks, Claire. Yeah, so this won't be kind of a shock to anyone, but we have a real focus on ensuring that whatever we focus on is what we're going to get, whether that be with the students or whether that be with staff. So we really wanted to focus on being positive, on wellness, and on staff having fun. So a number of years ago, we set up a staff football kind of afternoon. So once work was finished, it was we protected it in the calendar so that staff would be able to come along and play football. And it was less about football and less about competence in football, but more about us getting together. And it was, as Claire was saying earlier on, that kind of unstructured. It wasn't there were no rules put around it, other than we were there to talk, and sometimes people will talk about work or the frustrations that we had, but within a positive way. And then we really just each week burn off a bit of steam, and that keeps us going for the rest of the week. So there is a person who will then write up a report on it, and then the next day you'll get a kind of a match report, which is always quite funny, and poking a bit of fun at certain people and what certain people are doing during the session. And it's all done with good humour. So we really always wanted to focus on bringing new staff into that. And last year there was a member of staff who really struggled, and this year we've pulled that person into this activity, and the relationships that this person has built with the other people that go is really paying off, and we're starting to see, a happier person around site, but also a more confident person being able to come up and ask us things outside of that environment. So very small thing, but something that we really protected. And when we sit down every year at a conference, and it was at the point where we said we are going to protect this time for staff, even though it'd be quite easy for us to say, no, we're going to put in more clubs for kids, or we're going to put in meetings during this time. We actually said that we need to protect it, and because with us focusing on that kind of wellness and that positivity, that will help not only the staff but the students in the long term as well. So just a little kind of experience that we've had at Spires. Claire, I'll hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. Am I sharing my screen?
You are, yeah.
I am. Yes. Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Sean. That was really, really helpful and kind of added on to our 5 ways to wellbeing. I will facilitate the discussion now. So any kind of questions you've got for myself or Sean, who might have to disappear in a few minutes. Any questions at all? Please unmute yourself and ask away. Shall I go for James first? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a question. Thank you, Claire. I just wanted to flag up that you mentioned your bit about the mental health support team, which is who I run. So it's my team. So it's really nice to hear that triage day was a success, because I felt it was amazing. I mean, I think actually of all the ones we did, it was the most successful one. But I just wanted to kind of mention that I'm going to later on, when I get to my bit, I'm going to talk a little bit about what our team does and how schools can access it. But it was very nice to hear positive things. Sometimes we don't always hear the positives. We sort of walk away once we've done our bit. So it was really nice to hear that. So I just wanted to say that.
Staff, students and parents all commented about how wonderful it was. So
That was really nice. No, thank you.
Any other questions about what we do here at Spires? Can't see any hands. Okay. I think we're on to you.
Apologies for this chair swap. So next up, very pleased to introduce Sally Marsden, who I met last year and does a fantastic job at Willow House Education Hospital School down in Wokingham. So would you like to just turn your microphone and video on and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Okay, right. Hello there. It's great to join you all. Thank you very much. My name's Sally Marsden and I head Willow House Hospital School. We're based in Wokingham. We're a Tier 4 CAMS establishment for young people with severe and enduring mental health problems. Many of our students are sometimes under the Mental Health Act, Section 2 or Section 3. Some are informal. And they come to the hospital school, whether they want to or not, really. They're encouraged to come along, even if they're perhaps on an apprenticeship or they've left school and are currently unemployed. Because we're a hospital, we're open to young people from year 7 to year 13. So they are with us and we provide hope. That's our biggest message. And being a hope giver, we will try and find something, even though they feel they have no future, they've given up hope, we will find something they're good at. And we do run a wellbeing group every Tuesday morning. We have a set way of doing this. And we scoop the young people up and they come and join us. And we have certain things that we look at. For example, the first thing we look at is a little group that we call Me, Myself and I. And the title came from thinking of, where could we get them to look at themselves and see themselves in a positive light? And that title came from a Joan Armatrading song. Those of you who know her work will immediately recognize that title. So Me, Myself and I, we follow it by family, society and me. Then we look at school issues, fair trade. We look at politics and me, how they become involved. We look at things like climate change, things that matter to young people. And often they're bringing their ideas to us and we run with them and we take them along, and sometimes they operate the lesson and we sort of learn together. And it really is, when I say hope, I say that many times, because often when they're talking to us at the beginning of their stay with us, which is often very short, admission time can be between 6 and 8 weeks, so we have to work fast. But when they come in and have no hope, it's wonderful. And people say, how can you do the job that you do? And it's for the little golden moments, the little nuggets that when they have had no hope, and by the end of maybe 6 to 8 weeks, and suddenly they're talking about, well, next year I'm going to, and that's the magic word, next year, because they're not going to end their life. They have a future, and that's the really, you know, golden moment. So wellbeing for us is getting the young person involved and taking part, and scooping the young person up so that they have a sense of themselves and how they can relate to others and form some sort of resilience. And I like to think it complements, well, I'm told it complements what our medics do on the main ward, because they hold groups, mainly DBT, dialectic behaviour therapy, which is held for the young people twice a week, and it sort of glove in hand, it works together beautifully. So we like to think of ourselves not just educators, yes, we do the bog standard English, maths and science, but we like to, above all, give that sense of hope, well-being, that they have a place and their place is in the world. And that's basically what we do. I hope that answers some of the questions, but if you have any, please let me have them. Okay.
Thank you, Sally, so much. And I absolutely, having visited Sally in her school, she radiates that hope to all of her staff and to all of the students there. So it's a wonderful place to be, and to see what you do is really transformational. So do we have any questions for Sally? Claire's got one. I'm just going to spin over for Claire.
Right, Sally, I'm just intrigued. To be a holder of hope is a hard. Your members of staff maintain their own mental health and wellbeing while working with such cases as you described, because we all want to change the world, we all want to help so much, we all are empathetic. But sometimes working in the jobs that we do takes a toll on our own mental health. I was just wondering what they do to help their buckets remain full, so to speak.
You're absolutely right. Well, fantastic question. Thank you, Claire. What I would say is this, that we talk all the time. You have to in our job. We talk about everything, and if a lesson perhaps hasn't gone to plan, we talk about why, you know, they feel that way. But often we are our own really, you know, we're such strict critics about ourselves, when in actual fact we've done a really good job with perhaps very difficult to reach young people. But the again, the golden moments are when perhaps you think you've done really badly with a lesson, they've not taken anything in, but somebody's overheard something, and so they have taken it all in. But talking all the time, which we do during the breaks, I also ensure that all my team go out for a walk at lunchtime, because you need to get rid of those cobwebs and start every session fresh. Like you're saying, that, you know, the full pail or whatever, you need to recharge your batteries. People, and you have to make sure you're resilient in order to help them. Absolutely. Okay.
Sally.
Thanks very much. Any further questions for Sally? Okay, in that case, Ellie, if you wouldn't mind just putting your camera and unmuting yourself. So Ellie, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us all about psychological safety?
So hello everyone, my name's Ellie Hollingdale. I'm the faculty leader for performing arts at the Cherwell school, and I'm currently doing a master's with both Claire and Maurice actually, and so I'm coming in rather on the front end of this in terms of what I'm investigating, but it does fit in very neatly in terms of connect. What I'm really interested in is this the impact of what's called psychological safety on teams within school. So I don't know if many of you have come across it. It's a term that's used a lot in business. It's used a lot in hospital organisations. But essentially, somebody called Amy Edmondson, who's a Harvard professor, did a study in the 90s, which was all around how teams work effectively together. And what she noticed was the most effective teams were actually the ones that admitted most error and most mistakes. And what she really terms psychological safety as this ability, to believe the work environment's a safe place for making mistakes, for admitting mistakes, for taking, risks oneself and speaking up and calling things out. And I'm particularly interested in this in terms of dynamics of teams and how people connect with one another and how they speak up about things, and particularly in relation to people who quite often sit quietly in meetings and don't feel confident about raising issues. So that's where I'm coming from with this project. The benefits of having a psychologically safe environment are really around things like creating much more of a culture of trust and respect, open culture, and also greater sharing of ideas and greater innovation. And we all know that in schools these days, because we work so much more collaboratively, the more you work collaboratively and you're open about ideas, the more ideas can be sparked off one another. And this idea that people aren't sort of sitting on their hands and they're not stifled by fear, so that they're speaking up about things in a kind of timely fashion, candidly about things, rather than waiting until there's a massive burning issue. So it's really about having that connectivity and that trust and building those trusting networks. So I'm actually undertaking a study at the moment into how this impacts on engagement. And as I say, I'm particularly interested in this because of the nature of work these days, because in the past, people used to tend to work in their own pockets and silos and not connect up with each other. And these days there's more of an expectation for sort of shared working practices. And I think particularly at the moment, there's this real importance that we can all sort of be quite open about things that aren't working and aren't, because there's so many changes involved and we need to communicate things so much more quickly and be more kind of agile about how we respond to things. I think it's so vital that this sort of bedrock of trust is there. So the way in which I'm approaching is I'm looking at some sort of questioning techniques, which are around things like, asking people what is an alternative view, or in a way things around what things have we missed out, what elements. And it's really interesting. I'm at the very early stages, I have to say, of my project that I'm doing, but in a way I'm investigating it with one of our faculties and looking at another faculty and comparing them against one another. But I'm really interested in this idea of often people don't speak up and don't say things, and then they tend to sort of sit in isolation, feeling really disconnected. So that's my project, really. Thank you.
Hey, Ellie, thank you very, very much for that. It was really, really interesting. And I have to say, the book is fantastic. Other reading that's really good to link onto that is Vulnerable Leadership by Brené Brown.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying her recently.
Absolutely.
Are there any questions from anyone? Yes, no? Gone? No? Okay. Well, our next person is Dixon's. If I hand over to you.
Oh,
yeah. And I will let him introduce.
Isn't technology great?
Yeah.
We're keeping 2 meters apart, just
We are.
So thanks so much, Ellie. So Jamie, now actually worked with Jamie's wife last year down at Oakbank, and by chance conversation realised that we've got this world where Jamie's worked with us in the school, and I'd not actually been close to that work and feel I've really missed out. I knew it was going on and heard the reports from Claire. So it's really great of you, Jamie, at quite late notice to come in and join us, and a really important contact for us to have with the work that you do in the city and with the schools. So welcome to the network, and over to you.
Thank you very much. I did put together a presentation, so I'm just going to see that it will hopefully get to share. It's just really partly just for me to remember to say certain things. So I'll just see if that works. So hopefully you can see that. This has also got some web links on there. So yes, so my name is Jamie Douglas. I work for the mental health support team. So we are a relatively new project within mental health within Oxfordshire, and also it's a relatively new project within the country. So the MHST project, which is a national project, eventually aims to put a mental health team into every school in the country. We are at the moment just at a trailblazing phase. So from an Oxfordshire point of view, we are in 79 schools in Oxfordshire. So we have 35 in Oxford, in the kind of central city area, and then we are in Banbury and Bicester in the north of the county in the remaining kind of 44 schools. And the purpose of our team is early intervention. So like Claire was mentioning earlier, we did a triage day back in, I think it was January, at Oxford Spires, which was about going in and just listening to some of the concerns of the children and also the parents, very much at an early intervention stage. So the children who historically may have not been picked up by CAMS. And as was mentioned earlier, I know that we all know that the CAMS system is underfunded, understaffed, really kind of dealing with a lot of pressures as mental health concerns continue to grow. So the purpose of my team was to come in and pick up at the early intervention stage and hopefully pick up some of those cases before they become massive cases that need additional sort of higher level support within the CAN system. So my team does one-to-one support, so that is with the children around anxieties, depression, low mood, those kind of topics. But we also run groups, we do consultation, so where schools can call on us just to kind of bounce ideas off and we can potentially support. We do assemblies, we create resources. So very much kind of there to respond to the needs of the schools. And it was really interesting to be made aware of this group and to be invited along, because I think part of what we do is about this, is about connecting with teachers, understanding what schools are already doing and seeing if we can kind of support with that. I've got on my slide there just a couple of things I wanted to flag up. One is, so this is a joint project within Oxfordshire between Oxford Health NHS Trust and Response, the mental health charity. If you've heard of Response, historically they were an adults service charity, but we've moved into kind of children and young people work. And one of the sides of what we're developing within kind of both arms of this project is resources that schools can use that are kind of free to access. So we have on our website, on the Response website, the web link's up there, but if you just go to the response.org.uk, you'll find it through the children and young people section, is we have a section of podcasts and a section of videos around topics that can be used in classrooms or can be sent to parents or sent to young people to use. We have topics to do with self-care. We've got topics to do with managing your worries. We've got things on there about different breathing techniques. So they're all kind of short videos around mental health topics, and we're developing these resources. Part of it was in a reaction to COVID, because the fact we couldn't go into schools anymore to do our work, but also as a longer term aim that there is sort of a bank of resources that are up there. So so that's something that we've developed as a team, and be really interesting to hear from teachers through this network or outside of it of anything else that we can develop, because part of our aim is to create these kind of banks of resources that schools can share and use within their settings. And the other thing I just wanted to flag up kind of within this is the Anna Freud Centre, who are one of the national mental health charities that are linked in with this project. They've recently started creating an online tool called the 5 Steps to Mental Health and Wellbeing, which in some ways is a bit confusing, because we talk also about the 5 steps to wellbeing from as Claire was saying at the beginning, the Connect and so on. But they have an online tool which is officially was launched last week, although it's been there for a couple of years in a trial phase. And that is a website where you can log on, create an account, and develop your own mental health agenda for the school with some suggested resources and activities. So there's a lot of stuff going on nationally as well as what we are doing locally. And I wanted just to flag that website because that seems to really kind of be supportive. So that's kind of my service in a nutshell there. As I said, it is meant to be kind of a collaboration with schools and working with teachers. So I'm really excited to kind of be invited today to listen to the different ideas that have already been shared, and also just to network with people, because we are here for you. And even if you are from a school that we're not in, because we are limited to these 79 schools, we're also open to at least share some of these resources with you, even if you can't get the full service from us yet. Hopefully that's going to come as the sort of the pilot phase continues. We will be in all schools, but until then, at least we're here in the background to support. So I think that's it from me. Thank you for your time.
Jamie, thank you ever so much. I've got a question for you. How easy is it for you to connect with schools? You know, do you find that when you try to get in touch to offer these wonderful looking resources that schools pick up on it, or is there a way we can help that connect?
I think it's sort of up and down. Some schools have been absolutely brilliant in straight away as soon as the offer was put out there, because in the city schools we've been going since January 2019, kind of incrementally. Some schools have been brilliant. Some schools are still, even in those 18 months, are not connecting with us. I think really what it is us trying to raise our profile that we do exist. We are a CAMS team, and we absolutely appreciate there's a lot of frustration with CAMS. It's very nice to kind of hear that like Claire was mentioning, you appreciate that there is underfunded and there's a waiting list. But I also know from talking to some teachers that you mention the word CAMS and they roll their eyes and they swear at you, because they see the CAMS system as a system that they refer into and then don't hear from for months, and for some services potentially years. So we know there's frustration within CAMS. So when we mention we're CAMS, that sometimes shuts people down a little bit. So I think our aim is just to go on this kind of positive message and get out there as much as we can to sing our benefits and hope that people will engage. And I think we're getting there, but some schools are slower than others.
Yeah, thanks for that. And or so ago at one of the network's conferences, and talking about this idea, while CAMS is dealing with the top end of need, there was a whole raft of need before that if we could do things with those kids in schools, then they wouldn't need to get to that stage where they've got to be in a 12-month or 18-month waiting list. And I think my vision anyway is to try and do what we can to get some of those ideas that you were talking about on your websites out to schools and make them available, so that we can see that there are, we might not have the necessary skills to do what you do and what your colleagues do, but there are things we can do in schools that are useful and applicable. So yeah, I think that's really helpful. Claire, anything you want to?
I've got the same question that I asked to Sally. Again, you have a very intense job being a hope holder, as she referred to it, for lots of students, lots of other individuals, helping them maintain good mental health and well-being. How do you, your team, maintain your own mental health and well-being?
I think my answer would probably be pretty much exactly the same as Sally's. It's about talking. It's about us sort of offloading anything that's big in a proper clinical way. So if it's a really risky case, then we go through the proper way of talking about it and supporting. But if it's sort of just little niggles and stuff, it's just as a team being supportive with each other and talking about what we've gone through, and also sharing the positives as well. So because I think that if you work in mental health, you deal with a lot of negatives, because mental health is someone going through a crisis and you're supporting them, but actually making sure that we touch in with the positives. For example, what you were saying that was really nice earlier, I've written down to make sure I feed that back to the team, because it's nice for them to hear when things have gone well, that we're getting that positive feedback. So I think we just try and keep that dialogue going, so that people don't feel, particularly at the moment, because we're all working from our bedrooms and kitchens as a team and doing things remotely. So as long as we keep connecting with each other, that kind of really helps, I think.
Wonderful. So your team and several others and Sally's team all work on that psychological safety that Ellie was talking about, that not being afraid to express that vulnerability that I've had a bad day, and supporting each other and just talking it through. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jamie. Are there any questions from the rest of the group for Jamie? Okay, so can I please thank all of our presenters, Claire,
Thank you.
and Sean, and Sally, and Ellie, and Jamie. We did this at very short notice. We with World Mental Health Day coming up Saturday, we felt we can't really let it pass without at least trying to do something. So we're so grateful to the five of you for stepping in at such short notice and presenting as well as you did, and it's been really interesting to hear about some of your work. So to finish off, a general conversation, are there any questions or issues or points, or if people have got exciting things coming up they'd like to share with the group before we finish, please either unmute and tell us all about it, or maybe make a note in the comments if you don't want to speak and we can read that out for you. So we'll just give a little moment for that as well.
We've got a hand from Sally.
So Sally's got her hand up. Yeah, Sally, go for it.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to follow on from my colleague Jamie. Basically, I want everybody to know that they do a marvellous job nearly all of the time. And you really must not be so hard on yourself. And like you were saying, you talking and laughing. We laugh a lot. You have to keep yourself fresh and ready for whatever comes next. All right. So I want to say a big thank you to everybody who's shared, and for all those people who aren't able to join us, you know, to let them know that they are doing a great thing. I love your angel, you know, that you were saying. It's important that people hear the positive, because there is so much negativity about teachers, you know, not getting back to the workplace after all the rest of it. You know, we don't need that. That's not helpful. So I'd like to raise a hand to all colleagues everywhere to say you're doing a fantastic job under very difficult circumstances, particularly today. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sally. Bex, do you want to come in this?
Hey, yeah, I was just going to mention a couple of things that we've been doing in science at the moment. So we have a big whiteboard in our office, which is quite handy, and we've been splitting it. And like last week, our focus was half of it was weekly wins. So little things that are going really well for us and for our students. And then the other side was creative ideas for mobile teaching, you know, because we're a practical based subject and we can't do practicals. So it's those little things. And then this week, we're continuing to focus on the weekly wins. And then we've switched it to T&L ideas for the topics that we're teaching, and I think it's had a massive impact on our team. We can see the things that everyone's doing, you know, we can write things up for each other as well. So it might be that we've popped our head in a room and seen something great, so we can, you know, praise our colleagues too. The other thing that we do that Darcy, our head of faculty, is doing is we like to keep an eye on our, you know, the behaviour league tables on Go for Schools. So we look at where science are in the positive list. And I think we're second at the moment for 2 weeks running. So, you know, it's those little things that are making a difference to us. And I think what I really like about it is the team. It's the whole team contributing. You know, it's coming from us, within us, just to support each other and remind ourselves that we're doing good things. And the kids are doing good things.
Absolutely, definitely are. And congratulations in second. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Beck. Kerry, do you want to comment about, thank you for your comment. Do you want to say something about that? So, so Kerry's just said she would really like to do more to encourage staff to support each other, like the Staff Angels idea, and in a large school, 80+ staff and over 500 pupils, that's really important. So any ideas of what she can do where we're not mixing bubbles would be. So that brings us on nicely to ways we can keep the discussion going. Eventually we'll get the website up and going so you can have the forum, which would be a good place to go and discuss. But I'll put up a link to a little survey so we can do some feedback. But please do get on the Facebook page, get tweeting, get on the LinkedIn group if you're on there. And once you get the link to the website, do have a look, and we'll upload this video to YouTube so you can see it and people can comment there too. So we love ideas, we love sharing ideas, we love getting ideas, so please do keep sharing. So are there any other hands up or comments people would like to make? Great stuff. Claire, anything from you before we finish off?
I just want to say how much I've really enjoyed being in a collaborative space with so many people who care so passionately about and thanking you.
Absolutely, and we've had that lovely theme about looking out for each other and keeping ourselves well too. So thank you all ever so much for your time, and I really appreciate your feedback. If you think this format is a good format that we could come back to every once in a while, I like the variety of hearing lots of different people say about what they're doing. But do tell us if you think that's a great idea or a terrible idea, and what else you would like to see us doing. So remember, the last newsletter, which you got in your emails, has got the link to that survey just asking you exactly those questions. And please do give it a moment of your time. Thank you ever so much, and take care and keep safe, and we look forward to seeing you another time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.